Please go ahead, sir. We are live now.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of ASSOCHAM, we welcome you to this virtual roundtable discussion on e-waste management. To start, can I request Dr. Lavnish Chananaji to kindly give the welcome address?
Thank you, Varun, and good morning, everyone. I extend a very warm welcome to all of you once again to this very important discussion on e-waste management. My special thanks to all the inaugural session speakers from the government and the industry to have spared their time for this discussion and add value to the deliberations. Thank you so much once again. This is a very interesting topic, and that's where, the councils, combined to actually bring about. On one side, all of us are so excited and so, enthusiastic about the role of technology, role of towards digital transformation of companies, digital transformation of society in general. And on the other side, there is also an attached sustainability perspective that is gradually, gaining more and more attention. Now, if I start with some statistics, that as the UN says that we will probably be producing 7.6 kg of e-waste, the average per person, and that will mean 57.4 million tons will be generated every. So that's the level to which we are reaching. And if you look at India's e-waste generation has risen nearly 43% between financial year 18 and 20. So the larger point, while the learned speakers and the distinguished panelists would be throwing light on how part of it, the more important part is why at all should I be concerned on e-waste management is from two perspectives. One, the judicious use of technology as we develop systems, and that so that it helps in the controlling and minimization of generation part of e-waste. And then second, the recycling and the management of e-waste, so that the larger consolidated impact. And on this side, definitely, there are a number of efforts that we see happening in terms of ensuring that technology, one, is used sensibly. Second, is also used for management of resources for sustainable use, whether it's the circular economy in terms of the ethical sourcing or whatnot. And we also see, and on the part of government, obviously, we see a number of regulations which have become the motivation for or a compliance motivation for business to actually ensure their efforts in this direction. And we also, in fact, we are also seeing a big shift at the country level, wherein efforts towards climate change and if I can club e-waste as a part of the larger climate change are even being taken to to exercise geopolitical influence in terms of the competitiveness. And you will see all countries actually having announced their plans. They're having announced their Delhi recently announced, even India, the very interesting experiment that we have on the SDG index that we have created. All this is contributing. That another important component that that the potential given our demographic of in the management space. Startup action happen. We see here how actually on a platform so that the to increase the processing of e-waste from the mere 17%, and that to make it more organized as we so that's a very important angle that we see emerging within our, and that it's a topic that we thought required deliberation from all perspectives of generation management. I think the collaboration that is required, including government and industry partnership, all of us are actually achieved. With that objective, we actually brought in this program, and I do hope for being knowledge, sharing and exchange, and look forward to hearing from all the learners during the day. Back to you, Varun. Varun, are you there? Okay. Maybe I can pass on to the next.
Just give me a moment.
Am I the only one?
Thank you, Chairman, sir. Can I request Shri Kamal Arora ji, Chairman of the ASSOCHAM National Council on Electronics and Components, to please deliver the industry address?
Sure. Thank you, Varun, and good morning and namaskar to all, this call.
Varun,
A very warm welcome to all the distinguished panelists, learned delegates, and really many thanks to ASSOCHAM for organizing this webinar on e-waste management, which is the most critical considering topic today, considering environmental situation across the globe. We are talking about circular economy and what circular economy means, right? So circular economy has multiple definitions depending on where and how you see this. There's no one official definition one can refer to. It's not one activity. It can be seen as having primarily 4 pillars: transformation, innovation, collaboration, and governance. And this will require change in business models as well as the policy environment as we scenario. Now, this begins with a systems level view of our product's life cycle, such as ease of repair, recyclability, incorporating sustainable materials within the products and the packaging, continually improving it, making it energy efficient products, and providing customers and users the take back options when the company can go and recirculate them. From an innovation perspective, I think transitioning to a more circular economy will require both innovation and collaboration across industries. Right? Entrepreneurs play a very crucial role in this, in defining new ways of enabling a circular economy. For example, the SAP is introducing this model, and which is what we're going to discuss. So these kind of things are really definitely going to help the industries and the entrepreneur to adopt this and the industries to adopt this. Technological innovation has an important role to play in facilitating it all. Through virtualization, cloud computing, mobile technology, customers can fully utilize their resources and tap into scalable solutions that do not require significant amounts of hardware, while taking advantage of smaller, more efficient devices that last longer and can be upgraded for latest technology through softwares. Using technology also helps drive new understanding and efficiencies. Uh, 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 by transforming the systems via measurement, uh, that is part of the IoT and big data. New analysis can change the way companies and consumers are acting on this. By tapping into knowledge gleaned from the improved usage data, progressive companies can really think and rethink how their products and services should be delivered and consumed by the consumers. Most important thing also comes from a collaboration. How once you are transitioning to a circular economy, how significant it would be to collaborate with our customers up and down our supply chains across industries, and most importantly with the policymakers. Entrepreneurs are critical to helping fill these gaps and often bring the innovative spark that is needed to pull together the kind of transformation envisioned. Governance plays a very, very critical role as fourth pillar in this, which brings a circular economy, which will be a long lasting success. Only if it enhances and complements the development, growth, and strength the economy overall. Government should adopt a new future-leaning approach to policies concerning a circular economy that recognizes increased use of technology that can recreate again new disruptive societal benefit of sharing economy and growing IoT. Governments really can also play an important role in promoting circular economy by sharing best practices, harmonizing standard globally, and use public procurement policies around that. Now, it is very, very important as we see, this and about circular economy, that if we see the report of 2015 on waste to wealth published by Accenture, which demonstrate that by 2030, the potential of this would be about $4.5 trillion. Right? That's huge. What is the role IT and electronics play in such an important initiative around? E-waste is one of the fastest, as we understand from the chairman also earlier, it is the fastest growing waste streams in the world. Many studies reveal that roughly about 3 million tons of e-waste per year is generated in India, whereas actual recycling is done for hardly 5%. Out of this 5%, 90% is ICT related material and remaining is consumer related. Now, less than 20% of this, electronics is responsibly recycled. And about 4% of it, winds up in the residual waste stream, where it does not belong. The fate of the rest, which is huge, is still unknown. This is likely dumped, traded, or recycled under inferior conditions. Hence, it is very, very important that responsible IT brands, operations take measures within their control to address issues in this space. However, a gap certainly remains, and that can only be filled through concentrated effort by all stakeholders through a process of shared responsibility. In the end, I would like to summarize that circular economy is a journey and must be progressive with goals and milestones. It cannot be something that entails hard stop or hard start. Circular economy becomes successful through an enabling environment rather than only a compliance obligation. Circular economy is also realized through strategic integration into global supply chains, openness in shaping policies and processes, inclusive of all stakeholders is the most important factor here, is a key. METI's circular economy draft is a welcome move, and we hope that there will be many more such live documents, eventually leading to a solid policy framework. With that, I'm looking forward to this session today. Thank you very much, and back to you, Warren.
Thank you, sir. Can I now request Shri Saurabh Goyal, co-chairman of the ASSOCHAM National Council on Electronics and Components, to kindly deliver his industry address.
Thank you, Varun. I hope I'm audible. Yeah, okay. Good morning, everyone. Dear Dr. Chanana, Mr. Kamal Aurora, Mr. Reddy, my co-speakers, panelists, friends from ASSOCHAM, industry and academia. It's indeed a pleasure and an honor to welcome all of you for this ASSOCHAM organized discussion on e-waste. Given the positive sentiment towards climate and environment things in general, I would believe that this deliberation today is not a day too soon. And I personally look forward to the discussions and deliberations by all the luminaries that are there on the panel today. Let me reflect back by saying that nature has given us a lot of resources in abundance for our comfort and convenience. All it probably expects is that we return the resources in a manner that is easily recycled and ready for use by future generations. It's an unsaid law of nature that the life journey of all living beings in this planet is a perfect example of this cycle. Ironically, when it comes to the use of resources of the nature by us humans, we become a little selfish and are tempted to return the goods as is, without even taking minimum steps to facilitate the process of natural destruction. This does not augur well for our future generations, obviously. Definitely, after a century of high industrial growth by mostly the developed world, the winds are changing and giving way to a consciousness and maybe towards a more sensible use and disposal of natural resources. Let me give a few, Kamal espoused on the ICT. Let me give a few, examples from the consumer durable world, which I represent. I represent Havells. We are manufacturers of consumer and industrial appliances and devices across our plants. We use this principle of 5 R's, which is reduce, reuse, recycle, recover, and then residual management. With this philosophy in place, we recycle almost 95% of our non-hazardous material. Even the waste woods from cable drums, etc., are used to build school furniture, etc., etc. We don't use paper cups and bottles in our premises at all. Although we are not in the fossil fuel intensive industry, we are very conscious of the greenhouse gas emissions and happy to share that with all these efforts, our GHG emissions intensity is down by 47% in a year. We consumed almost 57% of recycled water and not the first intake water. 12,000 metric ton of waste we kind of recycled, and almost 6,500 megawatts of energy that we used was through renewable energy. We are also both producers and consumers of what we call e-waste, and typically, the area that we represent: conditioners, refrigerators, LED TVs, and CFLs. In our commitment to kind of ensure a greener tomorrow, we offer e-waste take back and recycling services that adheres to the e-waste management rules enshrined by Ministry of Environment and Forest in 2017. They were issued in 2017. As part of e-waste recycling initiatives, we have even partnered, and most of the companies have been mandated to partner with government authorized resellers, and moving on to the role of the PROs. In order to spread awareness on the consumer awareness side, and I will speak about it a little more, towards the importance of e-waste, we promote messages through our websites, call centers, promotional materials, etc. We even affix these labels on both our products and our product documentation, which kind of encourages the customer to take the e-waste to the right bins and right way of disposal rather than into general waste. All in all, I must admit, in the past 8 to 10 years, Indian e-waste sector, and especially in the consumer durables, has been witnessing some positive changes. Increased consciousness, efforts on the parts of the producers to classify both e-waste, expansion of formal waste management sector, much helped by the government, agencies, has also contributed a lot in this. However, despite these positive movements, as Kamal also said, and before that, Dr. Chanana also espoused to this problem is increasing. I kind of researched and found that ASSOCHAM did a very, very significant study a couple of years back. And at that time, almost 3 to 4% of the country of the world e-waste was kind of there in India. And since then, our e-waste, especially in the consumer durable sector, has been increasing at a CAGR of about 15 to 20%. So a much, much more concerted and larger effort, if I can say, would be required. Well, as I said, as is most of the changes, the change has to start from within, and the role of customer awareness and education in this regard cannot be emphasized. There needs to be a separate mention of e-waste charges on invoices, as is the common practice across and I have some, invoices, etc. I was thinking of showing it on this forum from Europe, which have a special mention of, different languages, but in general, it's called the eco tax. The amount so collected is then given to authorized agencies who take back complete responsibility of reverse logistics, related statutory obligations. And in countries like Spain, UK, it's known as the WEEE, or Waste Electrical and Electronic Equipment Regulation. And the invoice value of about 1 to 3% is charged against. I also happen to have worked in telecom industry for a long time, and we've seen a setup of USO fund in the telecom sector for expansion of mobile tower to areas which were less remunerative, and hence, private sector companies might not be tempted to, go into that area. And this was a fund collected and then used to, put up towers. And even the power of social media in this day and time, the awareness can spread multifold if, bright young minds are facilitated through the right ecosystem. Given the highly charged and increased consciousness on issues like climate, save the planet, world, health, etc., wellness in today's day and time, I think e-waste would fit in very well, and we should capitalize on that. And I'm really looking forward to some of the discussions in the afternoon through the panelists, where some of the ideas of in how to popularize this message would really come about. And last, but certainly the most impactful game changer would be the role of technology to facilitate the circular economy. Kumar spoke a lot about the circular economy. It's the conscious use, reuse, and then residue management, rather than a linear economy, which is essentially about take, make, and discard. So, that is another area where we need to really think about. As they say, and one of the good examples, as they say, necessity is the mother of invention. We saw in the recent pandemic when, the raw material prices and supply chain disruptions led many companies like ourselves to look for alternatives in materials through technological innovations. Similarly, we need to declare a crisis of sorts for, use of non-biodegradable material and use technology as an aid to find viable alternatives. The process in the short term could be a little painful, but in the long term, for our future generations, it would be a tremendous help. We owe it to them, actually. And as the Native American proverb goes, we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, but we borrow it from our children. Thank you, and I really look forward to a very interesting and an educative session and deliberations ahead. Thank you. Back to you, Varun.
Thank you, sir. Can I request Shri PMS Reddy, Senior Environmental Engineer, Delhi Pollution Control Committee, Government of NCT of Delhi, to kindly deliver his address.
So good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, Mr. Reddy, you are.
Thank you, ASSOCHAM, for inviting me for this eventful and useful webinar to discuss the very significant issue of e-waste. Though the issue of e-waste management is at a very rudimentary stage, so we need to pull up our socks and we have to do something. Especially 2 months back, our Honorable Prime Minister also said that looking at the rare earth material availability in India and as a whole in the world, so we need to reuse and recover the rare earth metals, and the concept of eco-farm, though it is available in the world in developed countries, this concept has gained the momentum recently. The office of PMO has started this one, and Delhi has been chosen as one of the state or location where this eco park is going to be set up. In this regard, a number of meetings have been taken at a higher level, like the principal scientific advisor to the government of India, as well as Honorable Lieutenant Governor for Delhi. And the issue has started, and the number of steps which are required to set up this eco park has started, and the various departments have started their homework. And land being a scarce commodity in the cities like Delhi, so that is a major stumbling block. And the DDA has been requested to identify, at least to start with, that one place, so that we can expand to 3 municipal zones, like East, North, and South municipal corporations. So, as of the present scenario is concerned, the formal the collection and the recycling, these aspects are is very lacking, and the entire more than, I think, 90% of the waste is being handled by the informal sector illegally, without adapting or without giving any chance to the environmentally sound technologies. Especially if you look at the places like Muradabad in UP, see the people their lifespan have also come down because of this incentive processing of the waste. And by this concept of setting up of eco parks, Delhi being the one, and I think 4 more are coming up in different parts of the country. So once these eco parks are developed, and all the processes like refurbishers, dismantlers, and recycling facility, including rare earth metals recovery by using smelting technology and other technologies which have been developed by National Metallurgical Laboratory, as well as Cmac and Ministry of Electronics, that is METI. So the technologies are available and developed indigenously, and we don't need any technologies to be imported or borrowed from the Western countries. We have the technologies. If we adapt these technologies, compared to 30% recovery of the gold by using illegal cyanide treatment being used by the informal sector, this percentage of recovery will go up to 90%. See, the main issue is here to how to bring all these informal sector people onto the formal one. That is a major issue. And DSADC has recently been directed by the Chief Secretary of Delhi to work out the economics or livelihood of these people, starting from the starting collection point to the end recyclers. Because as of now, there is no recycling facility in Delhi. As this recycling activity involves smelting, and this smelting activity has been placed under the prohibited list or negative list of the master plan of Delhi 2021. But being a public utility activity, we are requesting the appropriate authority to permit this activity, so that these activities can be allowed or permitted this proposed eco park. And these economics, until otherwise these economics are not considered, we won't be able to bring all these informal sector guys into the eco park. The place will be allocated to these informal sector guides also in the said eco park. And as per the METI, they say that minimum of 20 acres of the land is required. But looking at the land scarcity, this issue is, I think we are thinking of getting a land of 15 acres in Delhi at some location which is suitable and which is available as per the DDA. Once that is there, and suitable number of dismantlers will be there, refurbishers will be there, and plastic recycling facilities will also be there, so that the final product will only be going out of this eco park. So every entire entire everything will be recycled and recovered. And TSDF is coming up in Delhi within a span of 30 days, I think. Whatever is not able to be recovered or recycled, those things can be sent to the TSDF. But the issue of this EPR authorization and concept, and this as a state board, EPCC is observing that the entire exercise is going on only on the paper exchange. Though the DPCC has also taken the positive steps, concrete steps recently only. Though the routes are there since 2012 and amended in 2016. So we have started creating the proper awareness among the various stakeholders, and we have started issuing public notices in various print media, especially to start with, and this will continue for a period of 6 months. Every month, around 5 to 6 newspapers are being brought in to publish these things, indicating the responsibilities and duties of various stakeholders, so that by these steps, I think we can guide and bring them into the net of the e-waste management goals. But CPCB has a major role in this one because they issue the EPR authorization, and the complaint status is being checked by the State Pollution Control Board. DPCC being the state board, we have carried out a number of inspections, and it was found that the collection centers included by these producers while they're submitting this project report or this waste buyback or collection system. So these collection centers are not existing on the ground. That is a major issue, and we have requested CPCB to look into the issue and take action against these violating collection centers or producers which they have given while submitting their proposals to the CPCB while submitting the EPR authorization application. But DPCC has recently started taking number of steps, and if any suggestions are there from the industry, people are welcome. We will consider all those suggestions so that we all can move ahead and tackle this issue of e-waste management, especially in cities like Delhi, where informal sector is mushrooming, especially in the parts of eastern Delhi. That's all from my side. If somebody has any questions, there to answer.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy. Thank you, Dr. Reddy. Can I request all the participants, if you have any question, please put it in chat box, and the panelists would be happy to answer you. Now, can I request Shri Ajit Chandranji, co-founder of Reloop, to present his address and do an industry demo. Over to you, Ajit.
Thank you, Varunji. Varunji, it would be great if I could get the permissions to share my content.
So, please give the permissions. Gigi, you can share your screen.
Yes. Can you see it now?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. So hello everyone. Good morning to one and all present here. It's a great pleasure for us to be here and present to you on Reloop by SAP, one of the latest additions to the SAP Venture Studio. I am Ajit, the General Manager and Head of Business for Reloop by SAP. I've been in SAP for almost 7 years in various roles before we went on to start this venture within SAP. And in my current role here, I will be working on more towards helping the big brands out there in the road towards the sustainability and in tackling the world's fastest growing challenge, which is nothing but e-waste. Let's look into how we as a startup are helping SAP and its customers in their journey towards sustainability. I'm sure all of us know what e-waste is, and we all know that we're all surrounded by a humongous amount of potential e-waste. Currently, it is estimated that 70% of the hazardous waste present in landfills are caused only due to e-waste. And if you think you do recycle, are you sure they are being done responsibly? Because every time we don't responsibly recycle, we are putting the environment and public health at risk. According to the United Nations, 54 million tons of e-waste is being generated globally every year. And what's even more alarming is that almost 82.6% of that is being dumped in landfills. And believe it or not, it's all worth $57 billion of raw materials. The top contributors of e-waste are China, US, and India, with 10.1, 6.9, and 3.2 million tons of e-waste being generated every year. And since the pandemic, it's only been increasing. What's even worse is that around 200 million people around the world who are at risk of being exposed to these toxic materials. But why is it such a big menace? Until now, there are no channels to connect different stakeholders and to bring the fragmented market onto a single platform. The major stakeholders involved are the manufacturers, the retailers or corporates on one side looking for certified recyclers, and on the other side, the certified recyclers and refurbishers looking for an increased supply of e-waste. And after having validated multiple customers, we also identified that the waste value chain industry is completely fragmented and dominated by the informal sector, which limits transparency and traceability, though it is in high demand from various brands. On one side, brands look for certified recyclers who could help tackle their e-waste menace, and on the other side, certified recyclers who have their units set up and authorized to recycle or refurbish are still looking for an increased supply of e-waste. And that's why we Reloop aim to tackle this by providing a one-stop solution to onboard all these various stakeholders like the retailers or corporates, the producers, manufacturers on one side, and the certified recyclers and refurbishers who are authorized to do this activity in the country onto the same platform, wherein the corporates and retailers can get connected to the certified recyclers on the network to tackle the e-waste problem. And on the other hand, the recyclers can get an increased supply of e-waste. And by connecting these e-waste generators to the network of certified recyclers and refurbishers, we not just help in responsible recycling, but also aim to help these recyclers in turn to use the same platform to sell back the secondary raw materials that is got after recycling back to the market, thereby also improving circular economy. We also help these refurbishers to sell back refurbished goods on the same platform, thereby improving the refurbished market, as there are many organizations, schools, NGOs looking for refurbished devices in this pandemic. Thereby, Reloop would be one platform to not just help in e-waste management, but also a platform to sell and buy sustainable materials and services. Though we are an independent platform, our architecture is kept open such that we would be able to integrate with any supply chain platform, for example, SAP Ariba itself, and similarly to any third-party platforms as well. Now, talking about circular economy, we all know that the world is now moving towards circular economy from a linear economy, where everything has value and nothing is wasted. Reloop by SAP helps here once the product reaches its end of life cycle. Usually, there are two ways that happens as for the end of life materials. It can either be refurbished or reused, wherein we give an extended product life cycle, thereby enabling the refurbishing market. Else, it can be recycled, wherein we just not help in responsible recycling, but also help in recovering those resources after recycling by the certified recyclers. Reloop helps in selling back these resources recovered with the help of our marketplace, which helps industries in ethical sourcing, which minimizes the impact due to mining and reduces the carbon impact. Though we are an independent platform, like I said, we are also open to integrate with multiple supply chain platforms, Ariba, for example, and so that we can be the secondary marketplace for Ariba. Finally, we are also aim at formalizing the informal market, wherein we will integrate with another product of SAP called the SAP Rural Sourcing Management, where we are aiming at formalizing the informal market, which by connecting to the aggregators and the waste pickers. So this is just an overview of what we do to formalize the informal market. Like I said, we would be connecting to another application called the Rural Sourcing Management, which aims at connecting to the waste pickers and the aggregators, and to bring in transparency and traceability from that app to the Reloop by SAP platform. We also align with the UN SDGs 3, 11, and 12. The positive impact that our solution creates is to prevent the pollution and illness caused by informal recycling of e-waste. With our marketplace, we aim at increasing recycling rates by formalizing the e-waste sector, thus eventually reducing the amount of e-waste ending up in dump sites. We also enable in selling back secondary raw materials to the market, which helps in responsible consumption and production. Now let's look into the stakeholders that we have. Like I said, on one side is the green partners, like we call them, who are the retailers, manufacturers, producers, corporates, institutions who look for certified recyclers. And on the other hand, we have the recycling partners who look for an increased supply of e-waste. Now, just to quickly touch upon the various value props that we as a solution provide to our stakeholders. First of all, Reloop can act as a single source of truth for all personas across an organization, starting from the chief sustainability officers to the actual end users of the platform. The users could get access only to the certified and authorized recyclers or refurbishers in the country, and also digitalize the complete e-waste disposal process. Reloop not only helps in digitalizing the process, but also in providing transparency in the end-to-end process. That is, right from the point e-waste is identified until the completion of recycling or refurbishing wherever possible. Sustainability is very closely coupled with compliance. And one of the biggest challenges that our customers face today is the documentation that are needed for compliance and regulatory. Reloop offers its customers the ability to maintain and create all the needed documentation automatically at a click of a button. And we all know most of the organizations now have a process of approvals across various departments, and we allow our customers to define and customize workflows to help in creating a seamless approval process, which would be also web-based. And finally, a very important one is to measure the rate of recycling or other sustainability metrics, which is provided in a personalized dashboard that will provide details like the total e-waste recycle, what are the carbon footprint, and all the other sustainability metrics will be seen on this personalized dashboard. This is our humble effort to tackle e-waste from SAP as well, and we are working on this venture. We're also open to collaborate with various stakeholders here and to see how we could further help in tackling this e-waste menace in a more matured way. We also have a demo which I could share, a quick demo which will show what is being done currently. Give me a moment. Yes. I hope it's all visible, right, Varun?
We are seeing a black screen. Can you play it? Yeah,
Yes.
we can now.
Yes. So that was it. Over to you, Arunji.
Thank you. Thank you, Ajit. Now we start our session. The session on e-waste management and moving towards circular economy. Can I request Dr. Sandeep Chatterjee, Scientist Staff, Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India, to kindly address the webinar. Over to you, Dr. Chatterjee. Please give us a moment. Dr. Chatterjee. I think he's having some technical difficulties. Just allow us a moment and he will be joining back.
ज्वाइन किया हुआ ना
In the meantime, he joins.
वरुण का
Can
नंबर
we
है क्या
start the panel discussion?
वरुण का चलिए छोड़िए मैं देख लेता
Good morning, Dr. Chatterjee.
Good morning, Arun.
Sir, your address is live. We are
Okay.
little 5-7 minutes before the schedule.
Okay. Can I have a sharing right?
Yes, I'll just share. Anup, can you give the presentation rights to Dr. Chatterjee?
Dr. Chatterjee, good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Anandji. Good morning, Anandji.
Good morning, sir.
Dr. Chatterjee, you can share your screen.
It is visible?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I congratulate ASSOCHAM for interesting topic. If you see our journey, we are just started talking about electronic waste in 2002. Now we are entering a domain of circular economy, or actually entering to discuss the entire sustainability and design of the product, sustainable use, sustainable disposal, recycling. So entire ecosystem India started talking. Very recently, the direction of Niti Aayog, they have chosen that material is one of the important thing for any economic growth. They have identified 11 different sectors. When e-waste or electrical and electronic products is one sector, which has been given to ministry, our ministry, to come up with a strategy, policy, whatever document, so that we can initiate some action plan. And many eminent experts who are there in the committee, we come out with some of the recommendations, short-term recommendation and long-term recommendation. I think we can share some of the things. Of course, there are a lot of discussion going on after the formation of that paper. Then there was some concern from the manufacturing industry. We addressed that. We form a task force, especially with the manufacturers. Then we have moderated the document drastically, I should say, because our main job to promote our industry, manufacturing industry, so that we can have some document. Maybe this is the version 1. Maybe another 2-3 years we can come out with a different stringent version. So instead of initial document of regulatory, compliance, rules, law, we have changed to guideline, information based, awareness, sensitization, and encouragement to adopt the green design, other things. So I'll be giving some of the thought. If you see the, I think Anand is here, so I should not discuss about this slide. This is our present rules, where we are talking about 21 products presently. But this policy document or the other, now it is action plan, not policy document. Action plan talks about entirety of the electrical and electronic products in a graded manner, phase wise, depending on our capacity to handle those waste. Then EPR is in place, very important piece of legislation in our country. It is gradually growing, but just collection should not be seen. We should see how the recycling is going on. I think Mr. Anand will throw some light on it. Now, PRO activities there are many PROs in the country now. There are 34 PROs are there. Now, refurbishment has been agreed in the rule, but it is broadly in a informal channel. That also one thing we should see. Now, but now I'm giving a problem statement for the challenges. Design for obsolescence. This is now, this term terminology has been changed in our action plan. Now we are thinking that how to design to product last long. Reuse and refurbishment. If you are designing certain product that is actually helping refurbishment, that is also one issue someone should see. Green design, we are just coining this term of legislation like right to repair and eco label, not been enforcing it right now. But the standard of refurbishment is one issue we are stressing. 21 product already mentioned. Mass balancing, I think Anand is already having some software system that can take care of the mass balancing. Auditing is another thing we should see seriously in every player, starting from the bulk consumer. That is one very important aspect. Is our action plan has been identified. Can you pose a penalty on the bulk consumer as well? So that is also. Now, process auditing, PRO, and other things. Last three things that awareness, affordable infrastructure, technology, affordable processing skill set. Our ministry has done a lot of things. Why you are discussing this? If you see this snapshot or this slide, we are now third largest consumer of material after China and USA. Primary raw material consumption has enhanced between 1970 to 2010, almost 400, more than 400%. Abiotic, material extraction shows extremely high, and for electronic and system development, manufacturing sector will consume around 15 billion tons raw material by 2030. And as we all know, for a effective performance of any mobile phone, smartphone, and other devices, smart devices, we consume around 69 different elements in periodic table, and out of which copper, silver, and non-ferrous, ferrous metals are important. Most important is rare earth elements. So these are the things. So can we focus on the materials instead of the e-waste now? So now this circular economy, why the genesis of coming out with this action plan, the circular economy plays an important role in resource efficiency, reduction in pollution, waste for longer product life, recovery of precious metal, rare earth, minimization of occupational health. So entire ecosystem of every stakeholders will be beneficial. This will be beneficial to every sectors if we can, transform linear economy to circular economy. So typically in our country, we are talking about downstream process, that is end of life, but we should start thinking upstream approach as well, that material security, design, and easy repairability, longer life, and other things. So it is e-waste is a rich resource, having a secondary raw material. Already in 2019, we have generated 3.23 million metric ton. Out of the, we are third largest contributor in the world global KT, about 54 million metric ton. We are growing almost 17% year on year. So necessitates a policy shift from resource efficiency and this thing. What is the international scenario in this domain? In circular economy, there are R2R legislation available, right to repair, in almost 21 states, 25 states in USA. European Union has come up with a similar version and mandating companies to have a spare parts for 10 years. So France is the only country. They have come out with this policy where it is a criminal offense if the mobile or any device is functional, you are going for a recycling. So standard recycling standards are in place. Senelec, global recycling standard, R2, these are all available. Eco-labeling, green stickers are also there. Circular economy indicator, green public procurement, green design. So can you take some of the best practices and come out with our action plan so that we can have the better ecosystem in the country? The pathway has started long back in 2019. European Union and Niti Aayog, and where along with METI, come out with a strategy on resource efficiency and on electrical and electronic sector, where some of the bullet points showing that there also action point was identified, initiated resource efficiency scheme, incorporated the role of local body for integrating the informal sector, provide the informal sector to affordable tools, machinery, and recycling facility so that the material loss can be addressed, material leakages can be done through online monitoring. So these are the things already identified at that point of time as well. Now, this is our policy document, or rather, I should say, action plan. Now, is not a policy, no longer a policy. So, action plan identified the present challenges and started recommending some of the feasible thing in our country based on the best practices available in other part of the globe. And it is ensuring to secure the critical material. Can we think upon the list of product like 21? Can you think about the products which are using the critical raw material, CRM, or some the identify products which are actually using the deadly hazardous material? So, what is the basis of our choice of product in the EUS rule? That also trying to deliberated by the expert committee and find out some solution. So this is the definition. I'm not going into that. But extract, make, use, throw model. There is a linear economic model. We are going to secondary raw material, that is circular economy, where we'll be tracking the secondary raw material, which will help to reduce the extraction of primary virgin raw material, associated environmental impact, greenhouse emission, etc. So this is a life cycle. So we'll be tracking the material from mining stage, then the production, then the component manufacturer, then it will go to the production line. Then the design is most important, how it will be used and how it will be, whether it is a sustainable design or not. Then the distribution, then use and recovery. And then after recovery, we have to see the quality of the secondary raw material. Those material can be reused in the fresh production or not. So this is the entire circularity we are talking about. How it will be beneficial? There are three verticals: social, economical, and environmental. So social actually to reduce the resource conflict, benefit the consumer through availability of better product and enhance livelihood and sustainable consumption. Economic, through urban mining of EUS to promote the resource security and making the available critical resource. And environmental, where the reduce the waste generation, pollution of recovery of secondary raw material, and reduce the environmental burden through mining the virgin. If you see the our published national policy on electronics 2019, it was already mentioned that offers the opportunity to integration of circular economy elements and offer incentives to producers for adoption of CE measures and practical. So if you see the circular economy vision as electronic value chain, manufacturing, use, end of life, sourcing. So in design, it should be such that it helps the refurbishment or having a longer life. If some components or batteries are gone bad, so consumers should have a right to replace it from a affordable repairing cost. Reintegration of the manufacturing scrap. Within that manufacturing also, there should be a thought or planning how to use those processed waste. Then the end of life, higher production collection, return of incentives. We have to have a best available technology to extract the secondary raw material. Then you have to see the quality of that secondary raw material. Then advanced recycling. Now next, we should have a different policy tools available globally, which can be utilized. There are basically three different buckets: information-based strategy, market-based instrument, and regulatory instrument. And out of which we can choose the tool and instrument, which is voluntary environmental agreement, information-based strategy, green public procurement, and incentives for front runners. Then coverage of EUS category already we have mentioned. Calculation of EPR target with the average weight. This is one of the important issues has been come up during the discussion with the expert committee. Digital system and submission, reporting, analysis, and sharing the transparency standard across the EUS value chain, cost of compliance, and graded penalty. This action point has 6 chapters. One is on, or rather, 6 verticals, where raw material acquisition, where secondary raw material to be tracked, for meeting the demand of critical material, sampling lab, guidelines for SRM sourcing, and promote the extraction technology and incentives. Production design, where eco-design and skill buildings are being promoted. Consumption stage, where CE and RE leveling, resource efficiency and circular economy leveling are thought of. Public awareness program, product subscription instead leasing model instead of purchasing a product. Circular and sustainable consumption of practice, public green public procurement. In collection system, we have to skill, formalize the informal operators. We have to train the SPCB or PCC officials as well. Digital e-waste management, digital platform, formal and informal inventorization method, how to inventorization has been done. We are working now some formula, and it should be standard throughout the state along with CPCB, so that can be used by other state also. Presently, it is very fluid. ULB's role should also be defined, has been defined action plan. Granular collection system has been proposed. Can you use our post office and other public infrastructure for collection space? That also has been thought of. PROs and bulk consumer are more responsible. We can have a regular, upgradation of the e-waste rule to include all those things. And dismantling and recycling and recovery infrastructure, where eco park is one of the things our ministry is actively considering. Where recovery target can be thought of for the recyclers, and leakage plugging for standard process. So these are the measures I think help us the circular economy. Post end of life product, where CE standard benchmarking to recognize the products. So these are some of the recommendation, and these recommendations are given in the 4th chapter as an action plan for different institutions. Like guideline, earlier it was a regulation, now we are providing guideline, encouraging to use the critical material from the secondary raw material, promote the appropriate technology to extract the maximum number of material, and suitable financial scheme can be thought of. Incentives for the producers using the critical material, incentive to set up the infrastructure. And action point, we have to see that study for critical raw material potential contribution of SRM. First of all, we have to see what is happening in the other parts of the world. Then we have to find out what is feasible in our country. Then we should come out with a theme that will be used here. Identify the best available technology to promote recycling. In medium term, we can digitally track the secondary critical material and best and incentive to use the best available technology. In long term, we can think that incentives through the products link incentive scheme, PLI, like our ministry is having. In future, we can see can we give a some preference for the using the circular model of economy. Now, in design and component, there are also medium term and long term plan, compliance of best available technology, guidelines to adopt the design of recyclable and long lasting products. Long term, we can develop the guideline for global best practices for eco design, develop a matrix for linking the PLI with the design for recyclable things, develop a sustainable product policy for long-term betterment for the manufacturer, develop a criteria for identify products for best environmental performance, develop and bring cost-effective, locally manageable technology process to encourage the innovators, startup companies, and NGOs to use them for better recovery. In the consumption stage, we have a different action plan, awareness program, e-waste management awareness program. Our ministry has successfully completed from 2015 to 2020. So similar type of program can be initiated along with the related stakeholders, including producers. That will be based on resource efficiency and circular economy. And other ministry like MOEF, of course, CPCB and others can also join together. Adopt the internationally harmonized REC level, promote the consumer awareness, skill development. Already our ministry started in Northeast. Now, very recently, we have started another program in the north, Chandigarh, Punjab and Haryana. Similarly, this type of skill program on dismantling and segregation, we can initiate other part of the country. Ensure the bulk consumer aligned to the product compliance. So these are some of the action point, and this has been in the end of life. There are a lot of things I think MOEF should take care, like policy instrument, create the granular collection center. So we have to work on it. We'll support the MOEF and CPCB to come out with some better plan. EPR plan to include the committed budget. So now budget, how much is being used in the consumer, awareness creation is not known, and dedicated fund is not there. So consumer awareness, take back, logistics, so everything should be defined that this much should be there. So that should be submitted to CPCB or SPCB as their plan. The terms of reference and methodology of inventorization, I already mentioned we are developing some, so that will be circulated. And producer to invest the e-waste sector, CSR fund, it can be tapped or not, that also another discussion. Another issue we have found that auctioning is happening. So we should ban the auctioning, because after auctioning, if the auctioning company is not a registered recycler or registered collectors, so there is a chance to leakage of material to informal channel. So channelize the bulk consumer e-waste through producers take back scheme. And another very important initiative we thought we should initiate in that action plan, that is green skill development program for informal sectors. So this is the short term. Similar things we have identified in short term and long term basis, medium and long term basis. I'm not reading out again. So in recycling and recovery stage, capacity expansion of the recycling industry, improve the capability to handle the various categories of material, enable material balance reporting from recyclers, incentivize to set up an advanced recycling unit, maybe eco park, whatever we are considering our ministry, state-of-art technology should be promoted in the country. The states to set up the model dismantling and recycling unit in our country. First of all, we should have a some facility which having a adequate dismantling and recycling unit. That is the first step. Is not there, and that should be registered. So if the informants are making, they should be in some zone, then the material transport from that can be done, and the valuation of that dismantled material and product should also be there, so that trust level between the material transition from one player to the other player should not be an issue. And standard for dismantling and recycling should be also introduced. So this is the recommendation for promotional scheme. So we should use the standard, like SEN, CENLAC, or Art2 standard or ISO, which is suitable for this all process, dismantling, segregation, recycling. We can introduce. METI take proliferation, like we have developed a lot of indigenous technology. There is a center of excellence operating in Hyderabad around our Cmac Hyderabad lab. So can we proliferate the entire country depository of, there are NML also developed few technology. There are organization, another CSR organization in Bangalore. There are CPET Bhubaneswar also there. So those technology can be given from a one place, that our center of excellence. We are trying to engage them through some agreement or MOU, so that technology proliferation can happen from one place. Now, skilling of informal sector, one of the most important thing, nobody has done it, that unless we are integrating our 20 to 30 lakhs informal sector in the country. They are the best collectors. We have to train them, provide them a affordable technology, machine tooling. Then it can be a wonder for our country. They should be, linked to the PROs, and also the ULB can help them to integrate. So this mechanism requires a strengthening in our country. So I'm not going into the details of medium and long term. This are being whatever the action plan shown. It has been depending on the timeline we have set up this. Last one is secondary raw material. This is the it is the last extraction mechanism, and see whether those elements, those metals are having a same quality than the virgin one. So incentive would be required for secondary raw material uses for the producers. Address compatibility of SRM with the virgin material quality, quantity, price. For this we have to work. Create a value chain for allow the secondary resource to complete the virgin one. Develop and adopt supply chain standards for secondary material. Formulate and incentivize the manufacturers to use the secondary raw material. And we encourage the integration of secondary raw material with the global supply chain. So these are the some of the things we are thinking. And last one is circular economy evaluation indicator, where effective monitoring circular economy implementation and progress should be used, and action evaluate the performance and productivity and waste discharge. So this is my last slide. So what we are thinking that product should be designed for longer use, design for environment to reuse and refurbish to minimize the e-waste, resource efficiency to consider during the manufacturing, and to create the awareness on resource efficiency and circular economy. Track the secondary raw material, whether it can be replaced the critical raw material. You have to see, motivate and incentivize the green design and innovation. Then a later stage, you can think about right to repair, eco-labeling and other things. Standard for refurbishment, dismantling, segregation and recycling. Refurbished electronic products need appropriate standard, and consumer to provide the choice for safety. So the refurbished product that is being done presently in the informal sector required to have set up some standard. What should be the minimum standard of the refurbished product in the country? That is all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chatterjee. Now we start our panel discussion. Can I request Shri Prabodh Sodhiji, Program Director, Circular Economy for Center of Environment Education, to take it forward? Over to you, Prabodh.
Thank you, Varun. Thank you very much for a very interesting discussion in the morning session. And a warm welcome to all the highly experienced and multifaceted panel members. And what a morning we have had, and setting the platform by the chairs of the ASSOCHAM. And can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can.
ASSOCHAM and Dr. Chatterjee and Ajit. Okay, let's, to all my esteemed panel members, I just think that we all work. We have enough time to our disposal. We will have 5 minutes presentation from each of the panel members, and then we can have some question and answers. A few questions have already been posed on the chat box, and they have also been addressed by the earlier panel members. Then later on, we can go into the session of discussions on the questions. And I will not pinpoint the questions because the questions are largely open and wide, and the panel is very experienced. We will have 2 or 3 to take on the questions, and giving equal opportunity to every member. And then we will, after the question answers, I would request each of the panel members to make one statement, what they feel that we really need to emphasize upon. Dr. Chatterjee has given a very elucidated all the thoughts and processes, and many of the panel members within their experience would like to address. So I think so. That's all I have to say about the way of going across. There has been a lot said, and there'll be more we will discuss. Very effective rules have been framed and greatly focused on supply chain and clear responsibilities of different stakeholders. I think so. Let's move on to the panel members, and can I invite Shri Anand Kumar, the scientist from the Center Pollution Control Board. One more thing I wanted to add before Mr. Kumar, Dr. Kumar takes up, is that we have all the policymakers, the manufacturers, the producers, and academia in the panel. So all the members will get a very strong view of the thoughts. Over to Dr. Anand Kumar, please. Your time starts. Thank you very much.
Good morning, sir, and thank you. And thank you, ASSOCHAM, for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on e-waste management in the country. I will take you through the journey, how these rules have come up so far, and then what are the present status and how we are handling these rules. Because there are a lot of questions in the mind of the people, whether EPR is being effectively implemented or not. So first I will tell that the rule first time came in this country notified in 2011 and made effective from 2012. That rule was talking about the concept of EPR, and the producers were asked to get authorization from each of the state boards. And that created a lot of problem and, to the producers, because they have to go to each and every state boards and to seek authorizations. So they have represented to ministry, and then ministry came out with the amended rules in 2016. And this rule has made a centralized EPR authorization system, and EPR was elaborated in quite details. EPR plan was made mandatory. So I will take you to the journey. See, the rule came in 2016, but made effective from October 2017. So prior to that, we had a total of 153 producers registered in the country. And this number was, effective number was small, because the same producers were registered in many of the states. So effective number was less. The total number was 153 prior to the coming of this rule. Then this rule came in 2016 and made effective from October 17. In 17-18, we were able to register 244 producers, which went to 1,168 in 18-19. In 19-20, it became 1380, and as on date, we have 1,755 authorized producers. This includes importers also. Similarly, the target were initially in the 2016 rules, the targets were 30% in the first year, which was subsequently reduced to 10% in the by the amendment made in 2018. And the collection targets were given at the rate of 10% in 17-18, 20% in 18-19, 30% in 19-20, 40% in 2021, and it went up to 70% in 23-24, and after that it is remained 70%. Then in the amended rules, even the new producers were given targets based on the sales data, on their sales figure. They had given a moratorium of 2 years, and after 2 years, their targets were made as 5% at the rate of 5% for 2 years, then 10% for next 2 years, again 15% for next 2 years. So subsequently, targets went up to 25%. But these producers were also given compensation. When their actual generation will come, the whatever they have collected earlier will be compensated. Due to the COVID pandemic, last year the target was reduced from 40% to 30%. One interesting aspect I would like to share with you that prior to coming up these rules, 2016 rules, we had a very less collections of e-waste. In fact, we had an annual return submitted to ministry where we had submitted somewhere around 6,000 ton of e-waste collected in one financial year. This collection has definitely increased. I would like to share with you that in 1920, the total collection across the 35 states were 224,000 ton. One more thing which need to be understood that in the e-waste rule, only 21 types of electrical and electronic equipments have been covered. So we are, whatever figure I am giving, this is only for 21 types of electrical and electronic equipment. Although ministry is under consideration for adding more equipments, and I think in very near future additional equipments will also come. Based on these equipments, we have estimated the total generation in 17-18 was around 7 lakh ton. In 18-19, it was 7.7 lakh ton. And in 19-20, it was 10 lakh ton e-waste generated from these 21 type of equipments. Most of the studies says India has 3 million tons. I believe because they consider 12 category of equipments having more than 200 types of electronic equipments. That's why the quantity comes 3 million tons. But as per the present rule, we have to focus on 21 types. So our generation figure is based on 21 types. One more interesting aspect I would like to share with you is that because of the intervention of Honorable NGT, we have made an action plan for effective implementation of e-waste tools. These action plans have several continuous activities which the states are, and these continuous activities are basically verification activities which the state boards are taking up, and then they are regularly submitting us quarterly reports. Based on these reports and based on our evaluation, last year we have issued almost 1,000 so-called notices to the producers. 186 so-called was issued for producers who have not met their collection targets. 523 so-called notices issued to the producers who have not submitted their annual return, and 292 so-called notices were issued to those producers whose collection systems were found faulty. One more information I would like to share with this esteemed panel, that Central Board is on the verge of launching this online e-waste management system, which is basically a material balance system, where the entire value chain of e-waste we are trying to capture, and this software is being developed by CDAC, and it is in the second stage of testing. We have those vehicle tracking as well as video tracking features in this software. All the return filing and the form 6 generation will be only done through this system. All the bulk consumers, all the dismantlers and recyclers who have presently been authorized by different states has to come into this portal. The producers will have to come. We will be issuing them their user ID and password very soon. This is what from myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anand Kumarji, for really giving us a snapshot. I know the time was very short for you, and I'm sorry about that, but that's the limitation we fall in. But you really put it spot on. We will go to the next speaker, K.D. Bhardwaj, Regional Director of the National Productivity Council for Energy and Environment and Head International Services. Sir, we welcome you, and the floor is yours for another 5 to 6 minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you so much. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I thank ASSOCHAM and all the panelists for this today's session. Anand Kumarji ended with a remark that CPCB is in process of developing e-portal. I think it's a very good move. We should have had this portal years before, but anyway, it's coming up. I'm very happy. So can I get some sharing rights so I can show two PPTs, just 2 PPTs?
Varun, please give the sharing rights.
Yes,
because I just want to make 3 points and
no problem. I'll just give me a second.
I think EPR is one of the best tool for handling electronic waste in the country. It has been successfully working in Taiwan, Japan, Korea, and other countries, and now India has started. Of course, you can see my slide. You can see my slide.
Yes, we can.
Now my to CPCB, Anand Kumarji, and all the panelists, my only question is, because people are saying that EPR is not effective or whatever. See, these are the major stakeholders in our EPR system. Look at them. How many of them are there? CPCB, State Pollution Control Board, Pollution Control Committees. Just now, Anand Kumarji mentioned number 1755 producers or manufacturers, 51 PROs already registered on your website, multiple collection centers, refurbishers, dismantlers, recyclers, ULBs, multiple port authorities, maybe more than 200 dealers. See, all these people are part of this EPR system, and even one link doesn't work, EPR will not work. So we need a strongest sound portal where all of them are connected dynamically. they can interact with each other. That kind of portal is required. Unless we are not connecting them, EPR will not be effective. And all of them are part of this EPR. This is my one first request and one suggestion, that all of them have to be collected on one portal. Secondly, second point is that I just want to show you this. Let me just, Taiwan portal, let me show you. Taiwan has this 4-in-1 recycling program. It has been working. I think there is a microphone on by some panelists or participants. Yeah. So in Taiwan, see, they have, you look at the community residents, they are involved in this because ULB are there. Then there are recyclers, local authorities, and recycling fund. See, this is a government initiative. Let me tell you now very clearly here. Government cannot just make rules. They have to be involved in process also. If we just make rules, notify the rules, and then leave it to the private sector to do it by themselves by spending money, this kind of system in the beginning does not work. It takes time, and we are losing the time. Now, Taiwan has made this recycling fund, and let me tell you, this fund has not come from the government. It has come from the private sector. But government is managing this fund, and this fund is now being utilized for the recycling of waste. So this is therefore in one recycling program, and our EPR system requires that fund at this stage. Right now, what we are doing is fragmented. Each producer has to spend its own money. Each brand owner has to spend its own money. So it's fragmented approach is there. Rather than having this centralized approach by having such fund at national level to manage this EPR in the beginning few years until it stabilizes and starts working on its own, systems are developed, government support is required. Now look at this way it works. Recycling fund management board is there, set up by government, and this fund who pays, see, look at this blue manufacturers or importers or producers, they pay actually in this fund. Government is not paying. And then from this fund, subsidies being given to the recycling facilities or collection centers to support this initiative. I want this kind of initiative to be taken up in India also to make this EPR successful. And my third point, now I'm not sharing my files. Third point, and now here I would like to ask the industry associations. Here my third point. Government of India announced 2 lakh crore production linked incentive scheme. Why not even 10% or 1% for recycling linked incentive scheme? This production is going to increase our waste. Where is the recycling linked incentive scheme by the government of India? Thank you. That's my point at this stage. Thank
you. Thank you, Mr. Dr. Bhardwaj. I would really say that what you have streamlined in the last minute, that why recycling is not given the importance is of great value. And I think so it's very important that in the pandemic, this whole cycle, which is circular in nature, really stopped, because recyclers stopped. In the reverse, the poor informal sector had to really suffer. And I was working on plastics, and we were engaged in getting the travel passes for them in order to really collect. But where to go when the recycling was closed? The recyclers was closed. So thank you very much for giving a very interesting talk. I know the time is very short. We'll move to Ms. Prithika, head product of Reloop. We had a very interesting presentation from Ajit. Over to you, madam, please. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And hello, everyone. Thanks to ASSOCHAM for this opportunity. I hope most of all the panels are on the same page. Like when we talk about the circular economy or like to handle everything in one place. That's how, like, maybe as from a technology background, I just want to mention more about like how we can handle this and what we can do better. So when we as an entrepreneurs, when we started our venture, we also understood that why e-waste is such a huge problem. Because the major reason that we identified are the market is highly fragmented and it is little dominant by the informal sector. So what we first need to focus on is how we can build a network. And that is a major challenge we have currently. And as like our previous panels mentioned, like we need to have this one place where we can connect all these stakeholders, like all the e-waste generators, like industries, corporates, retailers, and also the aggregators. And the other side, maybe if we can onboard the certified recyclers and refurbishers, then we can have this one-stop solution where the complete things can be tracked. As of now, we have a separate portal where they are using it for auction. And again, we can't track the material flow actually. Like after the auction, what happens with the waste that was auctioned? That's also one major challenge. So if you have everything in one place, which will help to track easily the material flow when at the end of product life cycle, we are talking about a circular economy. So just not only focusing on recycling, after recycling, what happens with the raw materials? So we need to, how we can bring these commodities also back to the market. Because now, if you see, most of the customers are moving towards sustainable products. And it is part of their business KPIs also now. So how we can support the manufacturers and industries saying that like currently we are telling them you have an EPR target, so you have to recycle. Okay, after you recycle, what we can give back to them also, which is one important factor. So if we can bring back the secondary raw material in a formalized channel and help the manufacturers, which will really support the complete ecosystem. So that's the one thing which I want to share. And this is the thought that which we started researching long back, and we have come up with Reloop, which Ajit has showed in the previous session, and he has showed the demo of the portal. So yeah, that's what I want to share.
You have 1 more minute if you want to say something. We'll balance the time. At least a woman is there who is speaking.
Okay, so yeah, and just one more thing I want to mention. Whenever we talk about sustainability, it's just not waste. Okay, compliance is one of the major factor when it comes as a waste, and compliance is very closely coupled with sustainability. Even any solution that we come from making a digital technology or a digital transparency, the e-waste generators or the recycling industry, there are two factors usually when the business comes into picture. Either for the money, if they can get a good money, they will do that business, or if it is something from the government where it lies for their brand value, if legal things are also in place, they will do for it. So then bringing it like a value for the waste or something, we have to closely couple this sustainability topics with which can in later in future we can bring this to a right track. And whatever we are mentioning about all the forms which were in manual now and which we need to automate, and track from the production till recycling and recovery of the material, everything falls in place when this can be completely coupled with the compliance and legal thing. That is also one major point what I want to share.
Thank you, Kritika. Thank you very much for your talk. I can't sum it up. You have touched on many ends and neither I have to sum it up. But your thoughts on informal compliance and value for waste are much striking, and we'll surely address them over the period of time. Thank you once again, please. And then we'll come later in the questions. Can I call upon Prem Anandji, who is the Regulatory Affairs Senior Manager for Dell, and Dr. Anand, floor is yours for the next 5 to 6 minutes. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Maybe I'm going to ask Varun to grant me sharing rights. I'm just going to keep one slide on the screen for people to see while I talk. That gets a little more eyeballs and attention.
Just give me a moment. You can share your screen now.
I hope you're all able to see just this one slide on circular material innovations, right? So I represent a brand that has been working on circular economy since 2007, right? Even before probably the name was coined. And I try and stick on to the topic of the session, which is e-waste management and moving towards circular economy. I think that's what makes a lot of sense the way I see it, right? I'll talk through this, but then the initial reaction that I wanted to provide is like circular economy is something much, much, much beyond the e-waste tools. E-waste tools, electronics recycling is one element of a bunch of elements that put together, when put together, contributes to circular economy. I think that is something that I really, really like to highlight and probably have people take away as a key message here. Circular economy is not just e-waste. It is not e-waste management rules version 2.2 or 3.2. E-waste rules is a part of circular economy. So when we speak about circular economy, we need to think beyond the e-waste rules. That's one very crystal clear message that I want to leave to the audience. And coming back to the circular material innovations that we've done, the other point to keep in mind or that I want to share is like all these were done without a regulatory mandate to do so, right? Talk about the post-consumer recycled plastics. The very first one you see on the slide was, or the last one that you see on the ocean-bound plastics we've done them without any regulatory mandate. And what prompts a brand? I'm just talking for Dell. There are a number of brands out here, some of them in this forum, some of them not in this forum, have been doing circular economy programs for long. Just that we are talking about it now, right? Which is good, which I welcome and I see a good sign. But again, you go back and look into this one, it has multiple dimensions to it, right? Let us not box it under e-waste tools, or let us not say circular economy for e-waste management. No, that should not be the perspective if we really want to drive circular economy. Talk about plastics from recycled computers to desktops and monitors, right? This is plastics from a PC going back to the resin stage, getting integrated into the chain, and then coming back as a as a component or a part in a desktop PC. Talk about the reclaimed carbon fiber, right? That again is working with the aerospace industry because they use lighter materials. Now this makes lighter laptops. I think there's some background noise. If you want to mute others, right? Plastics from windshields are known because are used because they do not allow water to stick or stand on that. It kind of rolls off. It's kind of a what you call a non-stick coating that gets into bags, right? So which means that plastics from windshields do not end up in a landfill or a dump site or in any other process, which kind of gets used back. The other one that I want to highlight is the rare earth magnets from hard disks, right? So magnets from hard disks are most expensive, and using them again to develop or make hard disks. So this is what I think we need to be talking about. Innovation, right? Not just tightening the belt or tightening the string on the e-waste tools and trying or talking only about linearity. There is a product that is put on the market, the product gets used by a customer, gets collected by whoever the stakeholders, be it the formal or the informal, gets recycled. And what is that we're going to do by tightening just this portion of it? Nothing much. That's not circular economy. That's just promoting the linearity. What needs to be spoken is what happened before that at the product design stage. Some examples here. What happens after that? Some examples here. Talk about the hard drives and clear rare earth magnets. I think that is something we need to be speaking about. That is something we need to focus upon. Yes, of course, the e-waste tools can enable some of these actions. Really enable, not drive, not deliver entire circular economy. The tool that Reloop is working on plays a substantial role in it. So we welcome such moves. But again, what I want to leave, maybe wrap it up here, is that the most critical thing that I see that we need today is a different mindset to think beyond the e-waste tools, look at circular economy beyond or before manufacturing, after recycling, what happens to materials, how much of innovation can happen, right? That is what I think we need to be talking. And I think I'll wrap it up or sum it up there and then probably go to the next speakers and maybe have more discussions around this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anand. Thank you very much. You've touched upon the various business models which you want to take it forward through circular economy approaches on life cycle extension, design stage, redesign, refurbishing at the recycling recovery. I mean, There's a whole lot of things you have said it very succinctly, but we welcome those, and I'm sure during the discussion we will have another opportunity to hear on these issues from other speakers as well. Thank you very much once again. Can we go to the next speaker, Dr. Rajesh Kumar, Senior Scientist at Cmac? Please, over to you. Floor is yours, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I have to thank the organizations to represent CMET.
To be a bit louder, please, sir.
Yeah. And can you please allow me to share a few slides?
Yes, Rajesh, just give me a minute. You can share your screen now.
Yeah. Am I audible now? My sound is okay?
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Yes, we can.
Actually, yeah, good. Actually, now that our previous speaker, Premanand, has put the platform very open and very clear for me to start my work and to explain what are the activities of COE. So what is happening actually? So the refurbishing or the recycling or reuse of the materials from the e-waste, and also the technology by which we can recover these materials from the e-waste. That's what I am going to talk about as a part of the circular economy program. And say I belong to Center of Materials for Electronics Technology. We have 3 laboratories. One is in Pune, Thrissur, and where we belong, I belong from Cmac Hyderabad, where out of see, one of the major activities is the e-waste recycling and the Center of Excellence on e-waste management. Out of the all other major activities like purification of the materials, then preparation of hafnium and all other materials. So when you talk about this e-waste management, COE, here we are looking for a single point solution where a startup person can come and go training on the various aspects of e-waste management like collection, dismantling, recovery of materials, and all those things. And also we are providing some of the HR management, for example, human resource management. Actually, the skilled manpower in this area is also an important for these recycling activities. So we have already initiated an activity of MTech program along with IIT Hyderabad. So these are the major activities we are doing. One is spent PCB recycling. So we have not taken up entire e-waste recycling activities. So we have a good solid infrastructure is available for the e-waste dismantling, e-waste recycling for the mechanical separation but where are the gaps? For example, when you talk about the medium value and high value PCB boards, most of them are either exported to Unicor or being leaked to informal sector where they recover gold, and they are leaving all other toxic materials to the environment. So we have developed a technology, and now the technology transfer is going on, and by the side, we are scaling up the technology. And the other one is this lithium battery, where we have to developing technology for the recovery of lithium, cobalt, and other aspects. Then come out the permanent magnets, where our previous speaker also talked about the permanent magnets recycling. And we have also another program where the CFLs, where this actually, because it's hazardous because of the mercury content in that one, and it is also important where you have rare earth materials available in that one. So we have got a technology for this one, and it is also, and one of the first point of discussion, that is actually CFL, why it is not coming to recycle. So we can discuss a part of that one, and actually CMET, our COE can provide some solutions for it. And actually now at present, solar panel may not be a big challenge for the recycling, but another 5 years for 10 years to come, is a huge problem. I mean, will be facing huge problem of recycling of solar cell recycling. And I also talked about the skill development, where we already initiated a program with IIT Hyderabad. The first batch is over first year. The 2 semesters are over, and the second year actually only 5 people enrolled in that activities. But in second, around 340 people applied for that program, and but of course the seat is only 5. Actually, so that means that people, I mean, even from the academia side also, we are getting a good help actually, and from the student side also, they I mean, expect it's a promising area where they will get a job opportunity and entrepreneurs. And they may be, I mean, young entrepreneurs will come out of these students. And some of the startups, actually, we are also open to the people who have some idea and they want some facility, and they can come to Cmac and you can utilize our facility to start, and they can develop the technology, can go back to, and they can start an industry. So such a, I mean, that facility is also available. And also some activities where we, our capabilities, I mean, our background is not suiting, we are giving as a grand challenge to others. For example, recently we have given a grand challenge to the NIT Warangal for utilization of the slag, which is coming out of this PCB processing in some other, for example, civil engineering applications. And they have come with a beautiful program in that case. This is the program what we have for the PCB recycling. It's one example. So we have the prototypes and also a pilot plant system. We have a demonstration plant available in our laboratory, in our COE, and the major I mean, process the smelting and the gas cleaning system. The most important aspect is the gas cleaning system, where what are the flue gases coming out of it should be compatible as per the CPCB norms. So these are the facilities, and these facilities are also open for people who can utilize. If they have some material with them, they can come and pay some money, and they can take back the material back with them. So this, and also this facility is being utilized for the training for the for the recyclers who are taking our technology. These are the gas cleaning system, basically a secondary chamber where it is heated up, and a scrubber and this cyclone separator. So these are all the technology transfer activities. This technology is transferred to Namo e-waste, and this is the training sessions are going on. And also we are also open to the small recyclers or small recyclers where they don't have the facility for the recovery of the precious metals. They can come to Cmac and utilize our facility. And once they are confident of technology, they can go for the technology transfer, and we will train them and handhold them until the recycling and their industry for almost initial 2 years. So that we'll please. So this is what then further discussions we can. If I have 2 more minutes, I can show some of the slides, if possible.
Okay, go ahead. Take a minute, please. Just quickly run through.
Yeah, this is actually the major the status of our technologies. Actually, the PCB recycling. So from the 100 kg per day capacity, we have upscaled to 300 kg per capacity, and it is the TRL level 6. So the demonstration plant is ready. It is going on for the last 2 years. And so it is, and in the R&D side, it is being scaled up to 1 ton per day capacity. And the next one is the major one is the spent lithium-ion battery. So it is in the TRL4 level. It is in the prototype system level. And we are also, instead of hydrometallurgical route, we are also doing the pyrometallurgical route of recovery of lithium battery, almost similar to the Umicore technology. So we are making the alloy of cobalt and other metals, and the recovery. If somebody wants as an alloy, we can use it, and somebody wants to separate, also it can be possible. Then recovery of rare earth elements from the permanent magnets. Actually, this is here one advantage is what we have is that actually the IREL, they have a solid infrastructure for the separation of this mixed rare earth oxides to the single rare earth materials. So we have already in touch with IREL. What they're telling, you get the material, you remove all these impurities, you get us the mixed rare earth oxide to us, we will do the separation. And for the permanent magnets, if you want to, for example, if it is, I mean, it can be refurbished for lower applications, or it can be used, or and if it is an unserviceable magnet, it is not used at all. We can bring it and we can, I mean, take out all this iron, boron, and all. We can mix rare earth oxides as in oxalates or oxide form. We can give to IREL. IREL will separate into the individual forms and for the further applications, either as oxides and salts or as metal. So we are also already in MOE with them and they are ready. And for permanent magnets, they have already one solvent extraction route. It is already ready for this aspect.
Thank you.
Yeah, when coming to the CFLs, of course, it is different types of brands, different combinations. Some complication is there, but still we have the facility to remove the mercury from that one at the source itself. So what we can talk about that for the first project point. CFLs, the problem is that actually compared to other e-waste, where the consumer will get some money if you give it. But CFL and tube lights and all, the consumer have to give money to the collection agency or quarry agency because they don't get any out of it. So there, what we can do, the collection centers where 100 or 200 CFL for tube lights are there, and bulk beater facility, we can take it there. They can remove the mercury, and the rest of the glass portions, we can take it to a recycling plant where we can leach out the rare earth, and we can purify to a level which can be used as the raw material for the IRE. So that part, this part, even Cmac can always train the people, and we can always give the, I mean, help to all the small recyclers who are also interested in this one. And here in this case, actually, yeah, in this case, actually, it's there's no major problem of technology transfer and all. As a consultancy project itself, we can help this small recyclers. That's what I want to, I mean, tell in this.
Thank you, Rajesh Kumar. Thank you very much for giving us a complete package of things, and I'm sure people have noted down, and we will get back to you. I certainly will get back to you in certain ways. Thank you very much, please.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have the last speaker in the session for Dr. Rajesh Kumar Dubey, who has been taking part across many ends, sustainable engineering, circular economy research, Department of Civil Engineering, and he has also posted his thought if anybody wants to get along with him. Over to you, Dr. Dubey.
Thank you, Sodhisab, and good morning to all. I would like to thanks ASSOCHAM for inviting us to this panel. And being the last speaker, many points that you want to cover is already covered. So I was trying to make some notes and try to talk about what I thought should be highlighted. So I'll try to stress on that. And I'll start with what Bharadwaj was trying to get into, the role of ULBs. Because see, we had one of the things which came up today is that from the institution and from the commercial establishment, getting e-waste is kind of improving. The situation is improving there. But from collection from the households, because from the household level as well, we are producing considerable amount of e-waste now. India's middle class is actually almost as bigger as US population. So, and we are becoming things are becoming affordable. During this pandemic, with this online teaching, working from home, we all bought several of these electronic items. We were forced to buy because the old one was not working or whatever. So there is a considerable amount of e-waste which is being produced from the individual houses that we have not trying to tap into. It is going into mostly through the informal sector because the ULBs are not collecting, although solid waste rule says that there will be a household hazardous waste and there will be a collection, but I have not seen that happening. Best of my knowledge, I've not seen that happening. So that's one area where we need to kind of, because that's a big area. In fact, so one of the question listed was that 90% of is coming from the ICT. So so we are not getting too much coming from the household. So that's the ULBs has to play a big role. We saw the example of Taiwan from Bharadwaj, which you put out there. We can look at the example from Japan. I had some slides but I have a course on e-waste, so you can go on YouTube and see that. I didn't want to put a slides here, so it's a so that's there are wherever you go, you see that ULBs do play a major role in terms of this EPR concept. And EPR, as said earlier too, the government agency, whether we like it, we don't like it. Many times when we talk about government agencies, we start thinking about corruption and all those kind of stuff coming in. But they have to play a role. We saw that long list of stakeholders that Bharadwaj put out on a slide. To bring all of them together on one table, I think only government agencies can do that. Because see, if I talk to somebody as an academia, they will say, what is your, I don't have the authority to do that. There has to be some authority in an organization which can pull all of these together in one room so that that connection will happen. Otherwise, the connection is not going to happen. We will just be talking about it, but nothing will really get done on the ground. And other thing I was highlighted that what our friend from Dell, Premji, was talking about, like the education, like talking about the big picture. One thing, if you see today, most of the people working in the waste management sector, they never really had a training in waste management. E-waste is even a more specialized training. So although there is some courses, as Dr. Rajesh Kumar was talking about, some MTech program, but we need more of that. India is a huge country, and we need more and more of those training kind of program happening, either online, offline, whatever way it works. And sometimes it also needs to be made with the local condition and a local language. Because see, the many people working in the ground, if I talk in very nice English, but they don't understand anything, that's not the point. We have to make it, we did something similar with Guwahati Municipal Corporation for Solid Waste, where we try to develop training program in the local language, talking to those rack pickers and others, and getting this informal sector kind of little bit formalized. See, if you look at there is generation, there is collection, there is initial processing, then there comes the precious metal and critical materials recovery. We talk about critical metals. There was a lot of news recently because the 90% of the critical metals actually in the control of China, and we have a lot of critical metals in our e-waste and other waste stream, mining waste and others. So we should try to generate that in India, but they require some specialized work. But in terms of the collection, our informal sector is actually doing a lot of, it's a decent job. So somehow, and there is a trust deficit as well. The informal sector and formal sector. So that trust deficit, how the revenue sharing will be, all those things needs to be discussed in nitty-gritty detail so that everybody feels comfortable and they can come on board. So I was just trying to see like how to go forward. So that's what I was trying to highlight. And on the education side, since I posted that on the chat box as well, but we do offer several online courses. It's available on SWAYAM platform. If you are and there is a course on e-waste, just a 4-week, very focused course, and so one can take advantage of that. So I think I would end with that. And then also one thing that you talked about regarding the pandemic situation, we saw the same thing for the municipal solid waste as well, that waste collection was an essential service, but waste recycling was not. And that was becoming a big of a problem. So a lot of those issues. So thank you, and we'll look forward to more discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Dubey. As usual, you always are very pinpointed and bring it out. Thank you very much. And knowing you, I know. Now we had a very, very interesting panel discussion going on by people sharing their thoughts. I just am compelled to say that we have a very multifaceted panel. And here, when we raise the questions, these will be open-ended and people will be all very eager to say, but I will encourage at least 2-3 to speak and then give the opportunity on the next question to the others. I don't want to be restrictive. I don't want to be encouraging the solutions which ASSOCHAM is really looking forward. But 2 points which have come out, which I want to make out, and I very much am working largely on plastics, but the e-waste is also related. And I have been thinking about those. I really want to strengthen the supply chain management, which was alluded by most of the speakers right from the beginning, the chairs, and then Dr. Chatterjee, Anant, and everybody else talked about it. And lastly, Dr. Dubey. We really need to strengthen. Sometimes I feel we have put a man on the moon, But the kabadiwala, which is our drop point basically in our English language, we have not been able to look for him to be strengthened. The waste picker started 80 years back when the real capitalism flowed into the system and remains to be the same, elusive of any benefits which have been created. There are more than 100 schemes available, but they are not having access to anything. Insurances, they don't even know what is insurances. They don't even have basic cards, identity to themselves. We all want an identity within our domains, and we create the identity. These people do not even are not even given the voice. So I think so. The drop points, how we do it, how we strengthen them, they play a major role. I was sometimes talking in one of the meetings with the Niti Aayog, and I was saying that if I'm a consumer, I want to throw my cells or give out the other e-waste which I have, I'll just throw it in the bin and it goes into the collection, and that person goes and throws it and it's put to light and it burns. With due regards, I'm saying that we have to, in every neighborhood, we will have to have a deposit scheme system. We'll have to open up shops. Why not the multiplexes that we create? We are not thinking about that we have deposit points or drop points, and whatever waste I have, dry waste I'm talking, not wet waste. Dry waste can be picked up and deposited there. At least we ensure that the drop points are linked to the systematized flow of recyclers, all what was said, and or extended producer responsibility people can come up and own these drop points. And I'm thinking of, let's dwell upon it over a period of time. Let's open to the questions now. We have had 2 questions from the chat box, and with the panel members, I would please be little pinpointed, short. We have about, Varun, if you allow me, can we carry on till 12:45, another 10 minutes?
With all means, sir.
Okay, as per the panels and as per the members' availability. Thank you, Varun. So one of the points which was said was, what are the challenges in waste management? Although many of the speakers have alluded on this, Sandeep Chatterjee very much put a slide on it and started to mention. We have all said it, but I would like 1 or 2 of the panelist members to really, if they want to raise up some of these issues on what are the challenges in waste management. I'm talking electronic waste. Over to the panel members. Please raise your hand and we will go to the speaker. I have deliberately not pointed. Yes, Dubey Saab, you want to say something?
So like, as I was trying to say earlier as well, in the previous remark, having, say, as an individual, as a citizen of the country, I'm not talking about institution and commercial establishment, because there is a process in place in terms of how the e-waste should be disposed over there. At least on paper it is there, and mostly it is followed. But from the individual level, I still, let's say, as you said, if I want to dispose of my e-waste, if I could even call some of those authorized recyclers, they're not that keen to come and collect it from my house, because it's not enough volume from them. So we have to have all those electronic shops, which is there. They should have a proper drop off, like it is there. Like most of these brands, like whether we have Dell or Sony or whatever brands are there, they do put together their resources together. And if you go to, for example, Best Buy or those shops in US, you will find a nice disposal where you can put all those your electronic waste. Yes, you don't get any money for that. One thing as a consumer, we have to realize, I think one of the panelists, one of the speaker was also talking about earlier, in most of the world, you have to pay waste disposal fee. We have a habit of expected, like we want some money from my dead cell phone, which is actually practically not possible for a proper recycler. Because they have to invest so much money in terms of getting the technology. They have to get patents. If they have to pay for those patents, they have to follow all the CPCB, SPCB rules. Unlike the informal crude way of recycling, recycling. So they are not in a position, at least the first several years, not in a even position to pay you anything. In fact, we are paying it directly or indirectly. If we don't manage the e-waste properly, we are paying to the doctors because
Dr.
our soil is
Dubey,
polluted.
wonderful. Your point well taken. Responsible consumer is the forefront and responsible educative system. Any other panel member wants to address on challenges? Any other member?
As far as
Yes, please.
As far as
Go
Delhi
ahead,
is
sir.
I'm Dr. Reddy. So as far as Delhi is concerned, there are a few PROs, producer responsible organizations. We have uploaded the details of these people on our website, DPC's website. If anybody individually, if they are having any type of e-waste, if you can call them and they'll come and pick it up. There is no issue in as far as Delhi is concerned, but long way to go.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy. Thank you. I'm certainly going to get in touch before I go to Anand Kumarji. We will have to strengthen these drop points, sir. We will find ways to get these drop points done, and we will collect those drop points to the recyclers sponsored under the EPR by the various factors. Anand Kumarji, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, actually, the biggest challenge is the consumer behavior, as Dr.
Yes.
Dubey also said, that we have to, because we are always expecting something in return of the goods given for recycling. So this consumer behavior needs to be, and how we will address it, I don't know. Second thing, since we are managing and implementing these e-waste tools, so we are seeing that all the producers who have received authorization, they give their EPR plan. And these EPR plans have the details of the collection centers. They have the details of their, toll-free numbers, the contact person details in each of the collection centers. They have almost one collection center per estate or collection point per estate. And all these producers have their EPR plan on their websites. But still, as Dr. Dubey said, nobody is ready to come and collect. So I believe that we have to be more vigilant in enforcing these EPR plans, and accordingly we have been regularly issuing so-called notices. And now we have I have just missed one point in the morning session, that we have also come out with environmental compensation guidelines. So any violators has to be paying environmental compensation charges for violation of the e-waste rules. So I believe once we started doing this, the collection may improve. That's all.
Yes. Compliance and incentive has to go hand in hand. You have also to incentivize consumers. As I was trying to say, time has come where we have to make consumer responsible and make drop points within every neighborhood of 10,000 people. In India, if we have to succeed, that's the only way out. Our kabadiwalas are our lifeline. So-called kabadiwala. And when I go to the kabadiwala and ask them, he says कि साहब मैं क्या करूं, मेरा बेटा तो काम करना ही नहीं चाहता है, वो कहता है मैं कचरे में नहीं जाऊंगा. So see the divide getting on. Anyway, let me move on to the next question, which is I'm sure any panelist wants to speak on this. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead, Bhardwaj sir.
Very briefly, responsible consumer and consumer behavior completely depends upon the level of awareness. And level of awareness is not just training, it's bringing that culture. Awareness to the extent culture changes. If we are not able to do it, we will never get responsible consumer or good consumer behavior. Just now, Dr. Anand mentioned that CPCB had to issue so-called notices to the manufacturers. Now, when organized sector is not having good behavior or responsible behavior, how can we expect from the informal sector or normal citizens? So until unless this awareness level at the company level and at the consumer level changes, nothing will work fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bhardwaj. And let me ask Krutika and Premanand also if they would like, and Dr. Rajesh Kumar, if they would like to speak on this before we move to the next question. I don't want to be making them. Yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with almost all my co-panelists have mentioned. I would like to add just one line, right? What producers can do is to create a conduit or a system for customers to return products,
Mm.
right? Which is what is mandated through the EPR plan.
Mm.
Beyond that, what producers cannot do is to force consumers to use that conduit, right? That is something that we need to keep in mind. How do you get them to use? And that kind of ties back with what Dr. Bharadwaj just mentioned, not just training and awareness. It has to be a cultural shift. I think I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Prem. And Shrutika and Dr. Kumar, if you want to add something, unless we move.
Yeah, additional to what Prem has mentioned, it's mainly from like a take back program, like how we are giving the warranty for the electronics items. If we can something as a take back program from consumers, which can also help us over here to collect the a product once it gets life cycle end. So that is one thing which I want to mention.
Good. Thank you. Rajesh?
Yeah, this is collection is the big challenge. So we are talking about the individual consumers. For example, you cannot expect a recycler come and collect e-waste from your house, because it is not profitable for him. It is not practical also. So we can keep all our e-waste along with our glass, plastic, other waste in a particular place, and a particular day, some organization, they can come collect from any residential area, each residential area, something like that. Such sort of model can work, because coming for one mobile phone to your house is not practical. And we are talking about individual even you talk about the bulk consumers, they are auctioning the e-waste, and this recycling plant, these recyclers are competing each other. The amount they are quoting for the e-waste, it is very high. For recycling, they are just getting their money back only because of the refurbishing activity only. It is huge, because we come to know how can you, it is possible. For example, Infosys is quoting this many crores of material for this many pieces. How you are able to do it? When he asked me, they told, so 80% of the items are good, we go for refurbishing and we will get back our money. So this is the competition. So in one part, you are not able to get the e-waste, and another part, there is a big competition as well. Also. So it has to be a balanced act from the residential.
Thank you, Dr. Kumar. Thank you, Dr. Kumar. Since we have policymaker Anand Kumarji there, Anand Kumarji, I think so I will request Varun to share this proceedings of what the discussions are going on with everybody. And we really need to come up with a page on for you in the rules or amendments to take up how to have a responsible behavior action system, really mandate of the rules. We talk everything else, but we don't talk about this cultural shift which people are talking here. We don't talk about the responsible behavior, how we need to get into it. Even though it is upfront in your mind, Anandji, you really made a beautiful presentation within the short time. And I must say that whenever in the plastics also, when we are talking, and we are talking e-waste here also, most of the emphasis we are making is on the brand owners, is you give your action plan of collection, and they will take waste management agencies or whichever area. But we have to also insist that in this, we also need to strengthen the collection systems, because as everybody has mentioned, they will not come to collect, cost is very high. We'll have to think about alternates, how the consumer can be developed, a solution based. Anandji, you want to say something? We'll move to the next question off.
Actually, CPCB is mainly a regulator. We will pass this in computer information to ministry. They will decide on this.
Correct. Great. Good. So we have had a very interesting discussion. Now I want to shift to a little bit more on the, EPR is a very constructive measure. There is no doubt about that. It has been introduced. It has been introduced, as somebody pointed it out very detailedly, that it came into 2016, 2017, elaborated, and it was mandatory. But I would like to ask the panelists that even when we have such good constructive policies, yes, responsible behavior is one, drop points is another. Why is it that there is a limited achievement of it? Why, for example, tube lights, mobiles? I was in Goa and I don't want to name the person, a very enthusiastic ULB person there. Sanjeet was very, very keen that I don't know how to get it. He took personal interest and got the one of the listed agencies in the EPR, in the e-waste recyclers to do it, but it took a lot of time, and it's an effort which went beyond his thing. How can we really make it effective in a supply chain management? Over to some of the key members who want to take it up. Anybody on the floor of the panels want to take this on EPR? Any constructive solutions you have, how we can help the policymakers, the regulators to really make it happen?
Dr. Sodhi, I would like to share one experience which we had.
Please do. Please do.
Actually, we heard that there is a collector in Bhopal. He basically has a progress from a simple kabadiwala to a big collector.
Yes, I know who you are talking of.
So we went to see his system and how he is doing it. And there he got support also from the urban local bodies and the development authorities there. So
Yes.
what we learned from there, and we are trying to implement this across the country. What is happening, that why material is going to informal sector? We have to see this because they are paying more. And why they are paying more? Because they do not have any overheads and anything, and then they refurbish and sell it the equipment, so they get good price for it. But if we have a common facility where we encourage these informal people to come and get their equipment properly dismantled and recycled, and we also encourage producers, because out of their EP budget, if they are able to fill the gap which he is demanding and which he is getting, so there is a gap always. That's why the material goes to the informal sector. So if that gap is being filled by producers, then I think the collection will increase. And one more thing, most of the brands have submitted their annual returns, and we are examining it, and we are finding that they have completed their targets. The targets are at the level of 30% 2021. It was initially 40, has come down to 30% because of the COVID pandemic. So most of them have fulfilled their targets. And when they say they have fulfilled their targets, means the equipments have collected and they have been given to the authorized dismantler, recycler, and believe that it has been properly dismantled and recycled. So that way, so the saying that the EPR is not going through properly or EPR is failing, it is very difficult for me to believe, because we have annual return from most of the producers who are the biggest brand owners. There may be some defaulters, which you will, after evaluating, you will be finding it out. But their annual return says that they are able to meet the 30% target. And the target is at the level of 30 to 40%, and we should not expect the entire quantity will be recycled at one go. It will take some time.
Point taken. Any other panelists? Anandji, thank you so much, and the point is taken, and we'll run through it. Any other panelist who wants to add into what?
Yep,
yes, please go ahead, Dr. Dubey.
I think building upon. Sorry, Dr. Dubey, please go ahead.
Yeah, you go ahead, then I'll say that. That's fine.
Sorry, I missed out the right person because it's not showing everything there.
Okay, then I'll just say that I just had a thought that, see, we are talking about these brand owners, kind of giving a lot of responsibility to them in terms of doing this waste management, part of the waste management. That is not their expertise. What about like some of the experiences which is from the overseas that I have seen, like I used to work in Canada, US before, that what we have seen there, that brand owners are actually charged certain amount of money, and that money comes to a pool, and that pool is managed by a semi-government agency with certain rules and certain responsibility. And then the money is given to those companies who are actually specialized in waste management. Because the waste management is also not a child's job. Unfortunately, in India, we think that garbage mein kya hai, koi bhi kar sakta hai. In fact, I call myself a garbologist. My PhD is on waste management. And मेरे दादाजी बोल रहे थे कि भाई क्या कर रहे हो आप अमेरिका जाने की जरूरत क्या है, यही बहुत कचरा है, यही पढ़ लो. So that was that kind of thing is there. So it is a specialized area. So we need a specialized company, especially when you talk about electronic waste, when you talk about MLP, for example, multi-layered plastic. So we not a Tom, Dick, and Harry can come and do it. So why not having that kind of gradually move towards that in a EPR concept where we take the money from these different companies, but let these specialized companies come in and do the job of then we'll have better precious metal recovery, and although rather than sending those stuff overseas right now, in terms of e-waste recycling in India, most of the stuff we are doing is just the dismantling and just little bit of recovery here.
Thank you so much. There was a gentleman who was wanting to speak, sir. I missed the name.
Dr. Sodhi, I would like to add something.
Okay, let's give the opportunity first to the gentleman who wanted to speak before Dr. Dubey.
Yeah,
I don't know. I can't.
Talking about
Mr. Prem Anand from Delhi.
Yeah.
Okay, please go ahead, Prem.
Yeah. So the point that I wanted to make is when we keep saying about e-waste not getting collected, right? I think I put it the other way. E-waste gets collected, not just it gets counted, right? Where do you count, or where do you calculate how much of e-waste gets recycled? That matters the most. Right? Today, what CPCB may be looking at is what I, as a brand, or my my competition brands, collect through their formal systems and report back to CPCB. Right? What may not be visible or not, what is not counted is how much of volumes that the recyclers directly collect, and what category and how do they report it. What is their reporting obligations on recyclers? What is the reporting obligation on dismantlers? And going by this common number of 5%, 10% flowing into the formal waste streams, the 90% of the volumes, when you start counting them, that will probably give you a very clear picture of how much of recycling is happening. Now, is that formal? Is that acceptable? That should be a second stage. I don't have to tighten the belt at the first stage itself with the informal system. We first need to start getting them report the volumes that they are doing. Just plain reporting. Don't have to put any obligations. Don't have to put any mandates. Just report. That will give us a better picture. Because again, the problem I know I'm repeating is it's not about collection. It's about counting, right? Getting them accounted into this entire system. That's the point. Yes, over.
Thank you, Prem. Thank you very much. Kritika, do you have a point before I go to Anandji?
I feel technology also plays a key role here, actually, like when we talk about counting what we collected. So whenever the waste pickers reaches out to an aggregator with whatever they have collected, they also look for some wages around and how what they will get out of it, because they are paid very minimal on that part. That's why it goes to the informal sector mostly. So a solution over here, a kind of thing is we have a product called rural sourcing management, which we have kicked off for the farmers mainly to improvise their life. So maybe if we can bring in this for even for the collection of waste, that can also improve to reduce and also to bring in the count of farmers. That was one point.
Thank you. Anandji, I'm just going to come to you, but I think so technology-wise in plastics, particularly recycle based out of Hyderabad, is setting up a lot of digital platforms where they are bringing the buyers and the sellers together, and they are linking and they are ensuring that sort of traceability across the lines from the buyer to the seller, that is from the cradle to the grave. And I think so much of that needs to also come into what you are trying to say, Kritika, bringing the technology aspects and trying to link what the other speakers have said, Prem, KD Bhardwaj, Dr. Dubey, Rajesh, and it's good. Anandji, your final comment, quick one, sir.
No.
And we'll raise another question.
I would like to first inform Dr. Dubey that most of the brand are not doing collections themselves. They have their professional agencies called producer responsible organizations, and they are managing their EPR through these PROs only. So but we are moving towards what you are saying, but we have not yet done that. But professional agencies are involved now for collection of e-waste. And sir, my final point for e-waste rule management is these rules are very nascent. They are only 4 or 5 years old in reality. So we have to give them some time to get stabilized, and we should not try to reach moon in very short span of time. So we have to give time to settle to EPR for settling. Thank you. That's all.
Anandji, let me tell you one thing. Not even one person on this whole panel says that one of the best rules which you have brought out is congratulations to you and MOEF, CPCB and MOEF for bringing out. They are very well drafted. I said it in my opening remark, with very good responsibilities. These people are eluding out of practice certain thought processes, and we can flag those thought processes across into the actions. But wonderful, sir. We take your point. One thing which I was feeling that since the topic of waste is there, and Vindhya, do you want to say something?
I just want to say thanks to the eminent speakers here. This is a phenomenal session, and we from ASSOCHAM radiate gratitude of abundance, and thank you so very much for the connecting with us.
Don't close the session. We are going ahead with one more question. Wait for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
These
of course,
people are
then
there.
I just want to conclude and just giving the vote of thanks to all the speakers. That's the only thing from my side. I just want to say one thing.
Don't go away.
No,
Yes.
no, sir, I'm not going away. I just want to conclude, and I just want to put one thing. The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. We are not giving efforts from our side as a being human beings. After this COVID, especially we are entering in 2021, if we have think something in a positive way, that if we are stop wasting things in a negative ways, we can recycle it in our own houses, then we can contribute to the world. And thank you so much for your nice and thoughtful learnings which we are learning. You can go ahead.
We are going to come back to you.
Thank you.
You just wait. Okay. I want to the last question, and we are already over time, but let looking into the enthusiasm trying to extract is one more issue. We have talked about circular economy instruments. Prem touched about that we have to go beyond the e-waste rules. We have to look into various other aspects. And there was another question which has been posed from Kamal Kant, was on policies to minimization of waste. I think so. We'll club these two questions and we'll go for each one to comment. And this will be the last comment before really Vindhya takes over the floor to do her final thoughts, whatever she wants to say. I would like each speaker to talk about what are the instruments beyond in circular economy which you like to see emphasis going on to strengthen the value chain, the waste value chain or the supply chain management, technically less toxicity, and also building the financial systems of better disposal and incentives. Over to each one of you, please, for your final statements. Thank you.
I
Anand,
would
you
like
come
to
the
say that.
last. Anand, you come the last. Yes, please. Others, go ahead, sir. Who was trying to speak? Anandji, I would keep the last. You're the regulator, policy maker.
Right, sir. Let me just make my point briefly.
Very good, Bhardwaj.
Yeah. I think if we really want to have circular economy as a reality in our country, in my view, EPR is the only solution, whether it's a plastic waste, electronic waste, or any kind of waste. The producer or the owner or the manufacturer should take back the item. But transparent and effective EPR is important. Just now, Dr. Anand Kumar mentioned that most of the companies have met their target. As a citizen, I am not aware about this. I want transparent portal where I know which company is meeting target, which is not. So
excellent.
And because as a citizen, I have right to know which company so that I can buy their products, so I can decide what to do. So I once again request government, central personnel board, make this entire process visible to the people, and companies will change their behavior. Everything will change. As a citizen, I have full right to know in my country how EPR is being implemented, who is recycling, who is collecting, and how much is being collected. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Bhardwaj. Thank you very much. Next, please. Rajesh. And then we come to Kritika.
Yeah.
Anandji will come to you last. Prem.
So my point is that actually, instead of looking to West for the solutions for technologies and all, there are actually, I mean, the recycling technologies are developed in Cmac Bhubaneswar for plastic recycling from e-waste, and there are many technologies developed in NML Bhubaneswar, and some other technologies are developed in our COE. And again, there is a excellent opportunity for any new recycler or any solution provider. We are there, so we have to utilize whatever the R&D efforts of developed in our country for getting a excellent solution for this problem. So that is the.
Thank you. Excellent point. Thank you. R&D needs to be really given the push, and there has to be some way of incentivizing the companies or the producers or the supply chain stakeholders. Very good. Thank you. Kritika.
We all talked about reduce, reuse, recycle and everything. From my point of view, I feel than just telling now on as a recycle, reduce or something, we have to talk more about responsible recycle, responsible production and responsible consumption, which is very important going forward. That is
Excellent.
what I feel actually.
With a more sensitivity towards the gender balance, the women needs to be really protected to their rights and safety within the informal system. I have gone through it, I have seen through it, and we in UNDP in my previous job had developed a special program for them, how they can access to their rights, and simple things like insurances, like health cards, like enforcing the ULBs play a very, very important role, and enforcing the ULBs to get into the health care for these Safai Sathis, whom we call. Prem, to you, and then to Dr. Dubey, and then we'll go to Anandji. I hope I've not missed anybody.
I think I like to leave a couple of points for people to take away. One is, producer is not a supernatural power, right? Brands are not supernatural powers. We are one among the stakeholders that work in this space. There are recyclers, dismantlers, formal, informal, government, civil societies, a lot of them, right? Every single part has to do its job to get to the goal, right? And producers alone can never deal with this. That's one thing I want to leave. The second one is, we talked about, or rather I showed some of the circular economy programs that we've done, right? What is most critical in that is seeing a business case, right? Seeing a business case to do something, right? Am I going to put money into it for the sake of doing it? Or does it make business sense to do that, right? If there is no business sense to do that, circular economy programs are not going to fly. These cannot be driven just by command and control or just by regulation. There has to be a business case to do that. I think I'll just leave with these 2 points.
I think brilliant. And I alluded earlier also when you said that business cases which you run through. Thank you very much. Next, please. Dubey Saab.
Yeah, so I'll just continue where Premji just left. So when we talk about this business case, we should also look at the environmental cost. It's not only the economic cost. Say if you don't manage the waste properly, electronic waste, you are going to contaminate soil, water, air, and there is a huge environmental cost associated with that. So we have to kind of allude to having this whole life cycle analysis, because when you talk about circular economy, you have to measure something, isn't it? Say there are different processes, different options. So we have to really find out which one is best for the environment, best for the planet. That's the whole goal. That's why we are here, to try to make it a better place to live for our future generation. So in that case, having that LCA kind of approach to any decision making and having sound science behind policy. Many times the science does not, very sound science is not there in many of the policy making. If I can give some example, for example, when we say waste to energy is a solution for India's waste, I don't agree personally with that, although with all due respect to Niti Aayog, because say in Bengal or in Kerala, we have so much of rain with the garbage open up, there is hardly any calorific value. Similarly, like when you have to look at these in a for example, even the electric e-vehicle, when we are talking about, that's also will be kind of another big electronic waste coming in future decades. So with the current coal-based thermal power plant, with all the rare earth metal used in those electronic vehicles, we are just shifting the problem from the road to the power plant. We are not really solving the problem unless we go to renewables and all that. So having that whole life cycle perspective in the decision making, in the policy making, should be there.
Thank you, Dr. Dubey. Bhardwaj, you want to speak, and then we pass it to Anand ji, and then we close it.
Sir, I already made my point.
You already made.
Yes.
Thank you. Anand ji, over to you.
I have 2 points to highlight. For circular economy to be successful for electronic equipments, we need to focus on recycling first. And we have to ensure that whatever has been collected should be properly recycled. And we have to regulate recyclers, for which we have already made a plan how to do that. And secondly, what will happen to the recycled products? The market for the recycled product also has to be looked at. So these 2 things I would like to mention before the...
Thank you, Anand ji. Thank you. I think you've got a lot of food for thought, and ASSOCHAM is going to put this all together and share it everywhere. I had one thought before I pass it on to Bindia. One thought is that the consumer, we want them to be a program. We really have to make them understand and create awareness to them. Many of you have said it. How to make the awareness, we will have to think for those solutions, how to make a consumer part of the whole program. I would like that the products which we are buying, if they can give on labeling that how much is the recycled or refurbished or whatever material has been used, then the person becomes sensitive to it. Okay, I am buying a product which has 20% of this. And definitely there will be proper standards and verifications to that, policies which needs to be linked. I think that's one issue which we really need to start thinking also, along with the points which have been made by each one of you and put together. I would say the last thing is that I've really enjoyed being a part of your team as a panel member. And thank you, ASSOCHAM and the chairs, for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this such beautiful. Over to the Varun and Mr. Agarwal and Bindia.
Bindia wants to add anything?
Yeah. I just want to speak. I really appreciate Dr. Dubey, what they said. I was second on that. I just want to add one thing there, that we are using technology majorly in our life. And, while we are using phones in our life, we are clicking photographs and we are creating a lot of pictures that are also environmental issue. Like we are creating so many bulk of data, and then we are storing it somewhere, and how we are recollecting that, and how we are recycling that carbon footprints. That is one point I want to add here. And overall, this is a very interesting discussion, and it's a life-changing discussion actually. So I will take it further, and I'll pass on to Dr. Agarwal. To you, sir.
I've already summed up. Varun, you want to close it, or let's say bye-bye to everybody?
I think we should let's say bye-bye to everyone, and let's take it forward. Today's discussion has been very eye-opening, and thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coordinating this. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Do share these details with everybody, Varun.
Yeah, sure, I will.